There appears to be an event happening.
Be prepared.
Reports are coming in.
This is a recording.
Every major city in the world is experiencing the same encounter.
There's only one hope.
Can we get to this?
From the director of the best movie of all time, everything changed. Critics are calling it sensational. The world will never be the same. Hang on to your seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, your MC, Mike Bowman.
Welcome to the global launch of Greentree4, the next generation of Greentree ERP software. I'm Mike Bowman, Director of Greentree and part of the next generation. My late father, Don Bowman, founded Greentree, and I've grown up with the company in many ways. I'm proud to be here tonight to see Greentree continuing to change the world of business and how we all work. But this is not something we do on our own. Greentree has partners all over the globe, representing 10,000 companies and growing. If you don't know us that well, then you're in for a few surprises. It's in Greentree's DNA to innovate, to change, to create something better. Not just today, but constantly. And Greentree4 is a continuation of that lifelong journey. To tell that story, Greentree CEO Peter Dickinson will set the scene for why Greentree4 is so important. Not just for the Greentree community, but in terms of where business software is heading. He will then introduce the head of UX design, Andrew Lynch, who will lift the lid on Greentree4 and how it changes the way we work. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Dickinson.
You might be thinking that we've actually brought you here under false pretenses. Promise of a software launch, but a bit of a history lesson. What you can't tell from this picture is actually one of the first bulldozers in New Zealand, and it's been driven over a wheelbarrow and a shovel. A highly symbolic moment. What we refer to today is disruptive technology. Now, quite coolly, that bulldozer has been driven by my great-grandfather, Bob Semple, the then Government Minister of Works, getting towards the end of the Great Depression. Now, just a little of a side story. Bob actually started his working life at the age of 9 in a mine. Can you imagine today your 9-year-old child or grandchild going off to work in a mine? And like all boys born in the late 1800s, he had limited formal education and pretty short life expectancy on the end of a shovel. But fundamentally, Bob believed that we were not born for drudgery. We were actually born to use our brains. And he set about achieving that for himself, and also as the Minister of Works in that post-depression government, he helped lead one of the biggest periods of public and social works in our country's history. But he wouldn't have been able to do that without that bit of disruptive technology. I think Bob would have got on extremely well with Greentree founder Don Bowman. Both really innovative guys, but pragmatic. Hard-working and driven on achieving new outcomes. Don's first bulldozer was the product CBA. It was actually one of the world's first multi-user accounting systems at the start of the personal computer era. And then Don was at it again with Greentree at the start of the internet wave. So, has human drudgery gone away? Well, in developed countries, sadly not universally, we're not sending 9-year-old kids into mines, but are we still actually wasting our time and talent? I'm not going to give you all the information tsunami numbers. You've seen all those before. They're so big they tend to wash over you. For example, the data in the world today is supposedly the equivalent of 200 billion high-definition movies that would take a person 84 million years to watch. Personally, I don't really even care if that statistic's true. I'm still only going to watch 3 or 4 movies a year. But the sort of stats that I focus on, and I think a lot of business owners focus on, are things like it's estimated that 20% of our employee work, on average, is extremely low value. 29% of employees report that they do inconsequential, insignificant, unnecessary work. On top of that, business data is doubling every year, and that rate is escalating. And we need that data to help drive our businesses. But the converse of that is that bad data is estimated to cost US businesses around $600 billion per annum, and globally have an impact of around 20 to 35% on our operating revenue. Now, it only takes a couple of minutes, and think about this yourself, it only takes a couple of minutes to have a conversation with somebody where they can recollect something that's been caused by bad or missing data. Incorrect pricing, missed commitments in delivery or service because of missing data, or monumentally bad strategic decisions because you didn't have the right information. So waste and drudgery in a different context do still happen today. So more than ever, we need technological innovation to flip those challenges into opportunities. But unfortunately, the software industry is part of the problem. I mean, the spade, the old shovel, that was a perfected technology. You can't improve on that. It's what they call a perfected technology. Now, my 40-year love affair with software is because it can never be perfected. There's always incremental and radical change and opportunity in front of you. My peers are going to probably shoot me for this next bit. Abusive emails, hopefully not death threats. But the software industry is one of the most wasteful industries on the planet. Why do I say that? 15% of IT projects never make it to implementation or fail shortly after. And for projects over $10 million, that rate is 20%. Just looking at a couple of different sectors, the European public sector alone, its annual overrun, just the overrun, is estimated at being 9 billion euros. And in the US, the cost of failed projects, just the direct cost, is estimated at $60 to $100 billion per annum. On top of that, a recent survey basically illustrated that only 50% of purchased software is actually used or effectively used. Now, I know that's a bit of a jumble of stats, but all those stats add up to an estimated annual impact of failed IT, wait for it, of $6.2 trillion. What could you do with $6.2 trillion? Now, all of those figures are hidden in all of our individual balance sheets and P&Ls, tucked away and buried. I mean, think of the companies that you've worked in over the years. Was there a software project or an IT project that didn't make it to implementation? Where did that get buried? Was there a project that had a very short shelf life? The technology just didn't last. So, do we just accept that this is part of the high risk, high reward of being in an innovation industry? 6.2 seems like a little bit too much waste to me, $6.2 trillion. Are technology people fundamentally idiots? How many idiots in the room tonight? No, the opposite. In fact, the average IQ is actually pretty high. So what drives this level of waste? Well, I think fundamentally that there's 3 key causes. 1, The computer industry loves what we call platform change. That's the ability to get you, the opportunity to get you to bulldoze what you've currently got and sweep in with something new. Now, often there is that opportunity, and it is deserved, but too often that moment is driven by industry self-interest and not the interest of business. On top of that, and you will have seen us do this many times, we tend to become raving zealots. The latest solution is the only solution ever. And if you, the customer, can't dive head first into that next pool of spending, then you must be Luddites and probably not customers that we really want at all. I think thirdly, and probably the most practical reason, is the disconnect. It's the disconnect between technology people building technology they love as against specifically what business necessarily need. So it's really critical that all the time we stay absolutely focused on what business needs, whose problem is it, and what is the problem, not just get carried away with raving technology. Why is this so important in our field, the one we're talking about tonight, ERP business software? Well, business software is to business what is good food to people. Without it, you don't function particularly well. I mean, this is the engine room that connects all your people and processes, your customers, suppliers, production, all your business transactions, communications, information gathering, financial management, decision making. It's at the heart of your business. So it's absolutely critical that we keep innovating, but we have to get it right. We've got a great opportunity in front of us at the moment with the new technologies to embrace a much, much wider audience. Kick down a few walls. I mean, connection costs are much lower. The actual devices themselves really are pretty economic. So we've got the opportunity to leverage the engine in new ways. I'm going to go out on a bit of a limb here. Normally when we talk about who is the technology for, we talk about financial controllers, salespeople, warehouse, and that's all really valid. I mean, we look at all of those roles when we're delivering new software. What are the functional needs of those people? But I'll take a little bit of a risk here and go a bit more fundamental. Who are we really? And can technology help or not? With all respect to the 2004 Olympic team, Australian Olympic team, and lay down Sally Robbins, I couldn't find a better picture that demonstrated what they talk about in terms of the actively disengaged. The impact on a rowing boat's obvious in an Olympic final, it stopped. The impact of the actively disengaged in your business is actually much wider and generally more masked. It's estimated that up to 20%, 1 in 5 of people are actively disengaged. What does that mean? It means they come to work to do a lot of work to avoid work. Now, if you don't think that this average can fit your business at all, then please turn to the person next to you and give them a lot of sympathy because they must be in a hell of a mess. So, when we're designing new software, we don't create an actively disengaged focus group. That'll be a bit counterproductive. Greentree's philosophy is that good systems can actually fill in the cracks and stop the damage. Bad performers can't hide from good systems. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got a meager, everybody in this room obviously, 13% who are you're totally engaged, switched on all the time. They're the guys and girls that connect the dots, always get the job done. They'll work around inadequate systems, but you have to recognise that what you've done is you've slowed down your top talent. The most interesting part is the big block in the middle, the 60 to 70% of partially engaged people in the workplace. Now, they're partially engaged for all sorts of different reasons. They might be having some personal issues. They might hate you, their boss. That's quite a common one. But an underlying cause of a lot of the partially engaged there's a lot of frustration and dissatisfaction in terms of being on the end of the modern shovel. So what if we could engage that group in a way that makes more sense to them, create more valuable results and fulfillment all at the same time? I probably need to pull a few threads together. So far I've given you a bit of history in a bulldozer, a self-absorbed software industry, and the impression that all their businesses are doomed because we mainly employ basket cases. I should possibly attempt to put a more positive slant on that. And we've got a new bit of software that's going to solve all those problems. No, seriously, 3 to 4 years ago, we could see the wave of disruptive technologies coming at us. And we could see that there was an opportunity to engage the ERP business system in different and more powerful ways. So we assembled the best international team we could find. We ramped up our already considerable R&D, and we went for it. Now, we started off with 5 key principles. The first was we weren't dealing with a spade. We're dealing with a Greentree system, incredibly powerful capabilities. So we wanted to leverage all of that existing power, and by doing that, leverage our existing customer investment as well. But we wanted to bring in the new game-changing technologies alongside that. We wanted to use the technologies to get to that wider audience that I talked about earlier. But we had a dedication to stay grounded, to stay real. It was important that we didn't get so carried away with the technology that we lost sight of the business problems that we're trying to solve. And we're fortunate tonight to have a lot of customers and partners with us who have helped us take our collaborative research to a whole new level. And it was important that we actually managed to find our way through the technology minefield, and it is a bit of a minefield, so that what we would be building is built to last, is sustainable. So, normally in this situation, we'd give you about a 2-hour demo of all of the features and functions, everything that we find incredibly exciting, until your eyes probably roll back into the back of your heads and a few people start snoring. Don't worry, there's plenty of time for that later. Instead, what I've asked is our outstanding lead of our user design team, Andrew Lynch, to give you just a tantalising glimpse of Greentree4 now and next. Please welcome Andrew Lynch.
Hello. What a pleasure it is to be able to share our excitement live with you guys. But before I lift the veil on Greentree4 as it stands today and tomorrow, I'd like to take a minute talking about you. The dozens and dozens of Greentree customers we met during a period of exhaustive research. We set out to cover as many roles and business types as possible, from fine fabric importers to the manufacturers of machines that make machines, road sign makers, companies that make the technologies that manage event lighting in venues just like this. You were very gracious, and you weren't shy about telling us how we could do a better job. Here's what you told us. Wouldn't it be great if it were easier to find things? You have a customer on the phone, she's looking for an item she ordered, she doesn't have a code or any meaningful reference. Wouldn't it be great to answer her question more quickly? I'm used to the way your system works, but wouldn't it be great if we could do it this way instead? It would sure make my life easier. I remember asking one customer, why do you do it that way? His response, is there any other way I can do it? Wouldn't it be great if all that stuff I don't use just wasn't there? There seems to be a way to do things, but we do things differently. How can we better control that? We collected this mountain of information, sifted, sorted, until we arrived at a powerful design direction. Our goal was to simplify your workflows, champion ease of use, and provide a level of flexibility that no one else in this space can currently offer. So for your priceless participation in this journey, Thank you. Let's have a look at some key aspects of Greentree4. We'll start with how the application fits the way you work.
After extensive field and industry research, we decided that a clean and highly flexible workspace would serve the widest variety of user needs. The workspace consists of a few key elements. First, there's the main workspace itself, occupied by panels and badges. These are one and the same. A panel is a badge that's been expanded. A badge is a panel that's been minimized. This allows you to arrange any number of elements to suit the way you work. Let's say you're a high-level manager. Or you're detail-oriented. Then there's the minimalist. At left is the Views tray. This is a good way to store panels that you can tuck away and retrieve quickly. This tray can never be obscured. At right is the Menu tray with an all-new structure based on what it is you're trying to accomplish. It doubles as a fully integrated help destination that's smart enough to know what you're doing when you open it. Do you have multiple companies? Switching between them is simple and doesn't require you to log out or back in. Eventually, you'll be able to view multi-company data in a single central workspace. Let's not forget how important you said finding things is. You can index the enterprise search feature so that typing nearly any string will find something quickly, categorized or filtered in whatever way suits your business needs.
Responsive, malleable. These were just a few of the key requirements we took away from the research. Now, it's important to note that what you've just seen is run in a browser. What does that mean? That means that no matter whether you're on a desktop, a laptop, an iPad, Samsung Galaxy Note, Surface Pro, using Chrome, Safari, Greentree4 will be available for you. It was essential for us to create one unified experience that straddles all of these devices and platforms. Peter talked about how much time we all waste on pointless tasks and processes, shackled by the limitations of some of the tools we use. A core aspect of Greentree4 is getting data into the system and getting it back out. Let's take a look at a specific example of putting data into the system and how easy Greentree4 makes that.
We paid close attention to the habits of people who enter data infrequently and to those who do it all day long. This led to a complete rethink of what it means to be easy to use. Now, forms have been freed of clutter, but without sacrificing any functionality. We've enhanced form entry with time and space-saving features so that the experience is largely identical on a desktop machine or a tablet. You can now access carefully crafted versions of a form to suit the needs of a user or customer type. Important actions intelligently present themselves depending on the state of the form. Tabs can be divided into sub-tabs, eliminating the need for endless top-level categories. We've paid special attention to grids and how they are used. You can now collapse columns into a single cell to save space and keyboard strokes. This is especially useful if you want to see data but rarely change it. No need to take up all that horizontal space anymore. Best of all, we now offer the pop-up form for each grid line, offering anyone, especially tablet users, a quick means of interacting with rows in the way that suits them best. The all-new zone gives you access to even more features such as approvals, notes, instant alerts, with more to come.
Painless productivity. Painless productivity. I just dwelled on data entry, but Greentree4's inquiry form experience also meets the ease test. Organization lookups. Who am I meeting? What have we sold them? Inventory lookups. Where is that inventory and how much of it is available? All of this is available in the first pass of Greentree4. And as you can see, there's a raft of form-based tools available for your use. There's another aspect of Greentree4 that might interest you. We call it Screen Designer. It's no biggie, really. It's just a tool that allows you, with absolutely no coding or programming experience, to modify forms to suit your specific and unique business environment. Who would want that, right? Shall we take a look?
You want more control, and you want it to be easy. This means changing forms to suit your particular circumstances. With Greentree4's new Screen Designer, this is now possible. This is a standard sales view form, rich with inquiry options. But you want a simpler version that members of your team can use to quickly get limited histories. This is a standard quote form, designed for someone who needs many options. This, on the other hand, is a simplified field estimate you want your guys on the road to use, reduced to only what they need. This is a price and availability form, geared to provide salespersons with heaps of options. This is a scaled-back version for your sales force overseas, where different terms and fewer options are perfectly suitable. Did you have to pick up the phone and ask an expert to create these variations? Not anymore. Now, with only the appropriate permissions and a keen understanding of how you do business, you can use Screen Designer to tailor any form. To show how easy this is, let's modify a form in less than 60 seconds. Music, please.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there's probably not a single business person who can't see the potential in what we've just shown you. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for the grand plan we have for Screen Designer and how it gives you greater control over even more aspects of the application. So we've shown you some of what today looks like. How does it feel? Yep. Okay. I'm going to turn things back over to Peter in a moment, but before I do, I wanted to leave you on a high note by giving you a taste of what's in store for tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. I think everybody connects with that phrase, don't they? It sort of speaks of honest, upfront, everything out on the surface. Computer software, nah. It's what's underneath the hood that is sometimes the most critical part. So at the risk of boring you senseless, we're going to have a wee chat about architecture and engineering. I can see the front row's really excited. Architecture and engineering. The best analogy I could think of is the process that people go through today when they're going to sell the house. They get the dress-up people in, a new curtain here, a couple of cushions here, more modern knick-knacks in the corner over there. Never mind that the foundations are a bit rotten, the roof is leaking, and the wiring's just a little bit dangerous. Our mantra all along has been to deliver disruptive technology without the disruption, but also for it to be sustainable. And for that, you have to have good architecture and engineering. We could have taken the quick and dirty approach that a lot in our space have done and bolted on a few extra bits. Nice vase over there, a bit of software on the side. But that would have not been to the long-term advantage of our customers. Now, it may sound really counterintuitive, but on the other hand, we didn't want to deliver a new product. The classic shift house syndrome. Come on over here, we've built a whole new world, and the pain of shifting house that everybody knows about. And you get over into the new house and you find you've only got half the stuff you need anyway. So the Greentree software is already recognised for having probably the most comprehensive functionality in the market and very modern technology. So what we've done while you've been living in the house is we've extended the foundations, we've added in the new capabilities, the game-changing capabilities. We've built a whole new browser user experience on top. And we did that all while you were sleeping. Alongside this, we needed to, and again, a bit more engineering, we needed to retain Greentree's competitive advantage that you can customize and extend the system to suit your unique requirements. Now, that may sound blindingly obvious. Of course you want to do that. But in the new browser and apps world, for example, apps on an iPad, that's not typically the case. What you see is all you can get. They have not been built to be changed. And alongside that, we needed to retain Greentree's continuous deployment. For those that haven't heard me rave on about that before, it's more challenging for us to constantly be getting new capability and software out the door as against the typical vendor model where they do an annual enhancement upgrade. So it's more challenging, but delivers customer benefit quicker. Just a wee bit more. We had to build Greentree on the right technology platforms. So with Jade doing the heavy work on the back end and the new Censure HTML5 technology on the browser end, we think we've got the right technology stack. Why is this important to you? Well, as Andrew mentioned, one key reason. The architecture we've used means that you get the same user experience no matter what device you're on. Not a different app for a different device. Probably more importantly, it's future-proofed us. We are device independent. We're planning for more and different devices. It's not a point-in-time situation. You probably thought that most of tonight's presentation was going to be about cloud. But I didn't want to make this another zealot raving presentation about cloud. There's plenty of those on the internet that you can go and watch. Now, cloud is really important, don't get me wrong, but probably for a different reason than what you think. I think cloud's important because it provides another customer choice. How you want to run and pay for your IT platform, cloud is a choice. But we've had Greentree customers running on-premise, public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, whatever you want to call it, for years. We're not bothered. It's your choice. Right. You knew I was going to get to the next bit eventually. How much is this all going to cost? Pardon? How much is this all going to cost? Well, you can smell the massive benefits to your business, can't you? You can empathise with how much we've invested. Hopefully you can empathise. So it's not going to be cheap, is it? Well, I hope this is the most shocking part of the evening. We've made the decision not to license or charge separately for the new Greentree4 capabilities. What does that mean? That means if you're licensed to run capabilities in the existing Greentree system, then you will be enabled to run those in Greentree4 alongside that. For example, if you've got some CRM, sales, inventory, then you'll be able to use the capability of Greentree4 Sales. We want our customers to have the most slam dunk ROI possible in terms of using Greentree technology. Never stand still. Well, Greentree over the last few years has been investing a gobsmacking 40% of revenue back into R&D. And that's peaked recently with Greentree4 at 46%. We can't help it. It's in our DNA. Call us crazy. So it's pretty exciting for us that we're now right on the cusp of releasing this new baby into the wild. And next week, a number of customers will be turning on Greentree4 new capabilities in their live production environments. Hugely exciting for us. Was it easy getting to today? Hell no. I've got to say it's probably the hardest project I've been involved in 40 years of software. Was it worth it? Hell yes. I think to be able to smoothly deliver game-changing technology to customers is just immensely satisfying. This is a real sort of Greentree We3 moment. Obviously, and I can't name them all, but a huge vote of thanks to the fantastic Greentree team who have got us to this point, but also a big thanks to all our partners and customers who are sharing this journey with us, and those that have really contributed to the research that has gone into Greentree4. I think Bob and Don would be well pleased, and we hope you are too. So, to everybody in the theatre, thank you for sharing this eventful day with us. And to everybody also on the live broadcast that we're streaming out to, thank you for joining us as well. I hope it was a good experience. Never stand still. I think that's my cue to get going. Thank you very much.